Okay, guys, so the next thing we're going to look at is the plot diagram, okay? So, which basically summarizes the main events of the story. So, we start off with our exposition as usual, where you learn about the setting and the characters and all that stuff, and you learn about kind of the conflict. And then we have our rise in action over here that builds up to our climax, which is the most exciting point of the story, the biggest action, the turning point where the story starts to change. And we have our fall in action right here, which kind of ties up all our loose ends. And then we have the final ending, okay? So, I didn't want this video to be as long as the last one because, oh my God, that took forever. So what I did was I wrote all the little events on pieces of paper over here. And then we're going to kind of fill them in where they go on the chart. So let's look at them together, okay? So let's go ahead and start off with our exposition. I'm going to grab my exposition, and I'm going to go ahead and just tell you what, well, let's look through these and see what we can find. Let's start off with one that we hear. Okay, the narrator hears the heartbeat grow louder and louder again. So the word again is going to be that second time he heard the heartbeat, not the first time. So that's got to be somewhere here after he killed him. So I'm going to put it over here in my file in action, but I don't know which order it goes in yet, okay? All right. Then I'm going to go over here, let's see. N stands for narrator, okay? So the narrator watches the old man for 7 nights. Well, that kind of built up, right? So let's put it over here in our rise in action somewhere. So that helped build that suspense, that night after night after night. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to do it tonight, tonight, tonight? And then finally, we know he finally does it. It says the narrator screams and runs into the room and jumps on the old man. Well, that sounds like a big action. So it could be climax or it could be rise in action. So I'm just going to stick it right there for now. The narrator confesses to the police. Well, that's how everything ends up, right? That's the very end, at the end when he says, villains, I admit the deed. Ah! So I'm going to put that over here on my resolution because I know that's the resolution. Tear up the boards. Here's the beating of his hideous heart, right? All right. Then we have the narrator checks on him in the morning like everything's fine. All right. So that'd be over here somewhere. Narrator watches the old man 7 nights. Yeah. He goes into him in the morning, so that's probably right there. All right, the narrator decides to kill the old man. That's one of the first things. He has to do that first before anything else. So that could be exposition or it could be the first rise in action event. I'm going to put it right here until we know. The narrator pulls the bed over the old man and kills him. So the killing him, that part where he finally kills him, that's going to be the biggest action, the most exciting part of the story where everything starts to turn around. So that's going to be my climax, okay? So I'm going to put that right there. So that means this right before he does it when he screams and jumps on him is going to be that last rise in action event. The 8th night, the old man wakes up. Okay. So that's the rise in action over here somewhere, right? So I'm going to set that right there. Let's see. The narrator cuts up the body and hides it under the floorboards. That's going to be my file in action. That's going to be after he kills him, before he hears the heartbeat again. So let's put that right there. The police show up to search the house. So they showed up before he heard the heartbeat because it was when they were questioning him and he thought he was so cool and had it all under control. Then he started getting nervous and he started hearing pop-on, 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 pop-on. That's supposed to be a heartbeat. I have ink all over my hand. All right. We have an old house with an old man, and the narrator begins his story. That's going to be our what? I hate that y'all aren't here for me to talk about this with you, but anyway, that's going to be our exposition, okay? That's where we learn about the story and what's happening. We got our characters and we got our setting. And then we got this right here. The narrator hears the sound of a heartbeat grow louder and louder. So that would be over here. So it looks like we've got all of our events in the right order, see? And so you want to check your plot diagram and make sure that you got it right, okay? Pause the video on parts if you need to. So let's talk about the protagonist and antagonist, okay? So we know the protagonist is going to be the main character. So even though in this our main character is a bad guy, our protagonist is going to be the narrator, right? Even though he's a bad guy. And the antagonist is going to be anything that goes against the protagonist. So what's going against the narrator? We could say the old man. However, the old man's not really doing anything but being a part of the story. What's really fighting the narrator is his insanity, his madness. He's crazy. So really and truly the antagonist would be his own mind, his own insanity. And when we start talking about the symbolism, you guys are really going to understand it, okay? All right, let's talk about conflict a little bit. We definitely have a problem in the story. Now, is it an internal problem or an external problem? Is it something that's on the outside and we can see it, or is it on the inside? I'd say the biggest problem is going to be internal, and it's going to be the fact it's going to be person versus self, and the biggest problem is his insanity. Yeah, he had a problem with his eye and wanted to get rid of it, but really that's only because he was crazy. Okay, and then we have down here at the bottom the theme. Let's talk about the theme. So we've got the theme. We talked about that earlier on the other video when we were talking about the setting and the theme. I think it's a lesson that you can learn, that you can apply, or something like that. So we got the idea of reality versus madness, right? We got that craziness in there. And then we kind of have good versus evil too. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. So just make sure you got that written down, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in another video. So I hope you guys got this, and I hope you understood it. And the plot diagram is fairly easy to do. So we'll talk about that and go over that a little bit more later, okay? Love you. If you listen carefully, you can hear Lulu snoring. Did you wake up? I just woke up. Yes, Mama.